hey, apparently conservatives are on a winning streak. So if the media is concerned that conservatives are on this winning the culture war streak, they might want to tell their buddies in the Biden administration to stop providing more ammunition. The Health and Human Services Department has just released documents on the importance of gender-affirming care for transgender youth, endorsing puberty blockers, hormone therapies, and even some irreversible surgeries. They also admit that, quote, transgender and gender non-binary adolescents are at increased risk for mental health issues, substance use, and suicide. Let's bring in our company for reaction, business and market analyst Seth Denson and vice president at Tag Strategies and former Trump campaign communications director Aaron Perini. Good to see you both. Aaron, I want to start with you. The Biden administration is advocating for this gender-affirming care, but some of this can be irreversible or partially reversible in children. I feel like with so little long-term data, this is very dangerous policy to be advocating for.
Absolutely. This is another example of the Biden administration trying to push a woke ideology and try to make the science fit when in fact it doesn't. And Sean, to your point, you're exactly right. The long-term data on this is very small. There's one study from 2019 in Sweden of about 9.7 million people relative to this. And when the American Journal of Psychiatry put it out, they said, oh, yep, gender affirming works. It helps with mental health. And then they had to go back and correct it because when they were pushed back on in this study, Heritage Foundation did a great analysis of this back in August of 2020. They saw that of the people that received specifically the hormonal treatments relative to transgender surgeries and things along those lines, only 3 of the people that they had in this study said that they received better mental health benefits because of what they were doing. So the science isn't there on this for HHS or any member of the scientific community to stand up and say, yes, all of this is absolute and finite, and we need to be cramming the politics into the science of this woke ideology.
Seth, the fascinating thing about this is they admit that trans children are plagued by mental health issues. And so instead of pushing this ideology on a child and saying, hey, why don't you go ahead and get these hormone blockers when you're not even developed, they should be focused on how can we help you mentally right now? How can we help you as a child who's in your developmental years? They don't seem to be as interested in that.
Couldn't agree more, Lindsay. I mean, we absolutely should invest in mental health support to help all kids, but specifically those that are dealing with identity understanding, who they are, who they really are. Listen, my young son thinks he's Spider-Man if he's wearing the right pajamas, okay? And so, as we think through this and really the long-term impact, perhaps we should have a kid be able to spell Mississippi before they start actually making life-changing decisions that will impact them later on.
Aaron, last week I was saying after the Sunday shows, you had Chuck Todd from NBC and then Jonathan Karl from ABC. They were talking about how if you questioned Ketanji Brown Jackson about child porn, that you were somehow a follower of QAnon. Then this week, you've got Brian Stelter and Oliver Darcy over at CNN comparing conservatives who are in favor of Florida's parental rights and education law to conspiracy theorists by throwing up a, quote, bat signal to QAnon followers. So if you don't want teachers to discuss topics of sexual orientation with toddlers, right, somehow now you're a conspiracy theorist. And just to make sure our viewers understand, we're talking about 5 to 9-year-olds. As Lindsay's pointed out before, nowhere in the bill does it say the word gay or lesbian or transgender. It just says, hey, for those ages, we don't discuss sexual orientation. And now apparently, according to CNN, that's a bat signal to QAnon.
Yes, when in doubt, you can expect the woke media to stand up and say we are all crazy conspiracy theorists because you shouldn't be teaching 5 to 9-year-olds this kind of gender studies that they want to put in kindergarten classrooms. It's a ridiculous premise on its face alone. But this is what they do. We're racist. We're bigots. We're QAnon supporters. If we push back, well, contrary to the facts for Oliver Darcy on this, when you look at the polling and the support, Democrats, when they read the bill, they support what's in the parental rights and education bill that Governor DeSantis signed into law. Republicans parents, those who identify to say that they know someone in the LGBTQIA plus community, support what is in this legislation. So I guess that makes everybody a wild conspiracy theorist by Oliver Darcy's measure, but maybe he's the conspiracy theorist here, and it's not those who want to make sure parents get a say in their children's education and that woke ideology is not being crammed down their students' throats.
Seth, when you step back and think about this, really, and you take what the bill is, as Aaron is saying, this is a parents' right bill. And for a win for Democrats, it's so that parents don't get that right. So a win for them is to not have parents be involved in their kids' education and their kids' lives. To me, that's a sad day.
Yeah, to Aaron's point, and you know, whether it's critical race theory, whether it's gender affirming, whether it's teaching my 6-year-old about sexual things. I want my 6-year-old to learn math. I want them to learn science. I want them to learn about the Constitution. I want them to learn these things. And when they have questions about life, I want them to come to me, not their teacher. That's not their teacher's place. And parents should have the right to say, time out, not my kid, not right now. And unfortunately, the left feels like, as they do with everything, taxes, you name it, they can make better decisions with what you have, whether that's your children, your money, or anything else, than you can.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. My take is I think a lot of other states are going to pick this up because it's becoming not a Democrat and Republican issue. It's becoming a parents issue. And we saw what happened in Virginia and Loudoun County. Parents are going to have to start speaking up. So hopefully they're well. But Seth, Aaron, stick around because it's time Friday, time to have a little levity here. By popular demand, the company quiz is back.